Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of Wildcat Week. I'm Roger Alcock. Well, it's already national championship time for several of our fall sports. In IW, athletics have seen some success so far. The women's soccer team has been playing down in Kissimmee, Florida in the NCCAA Division I National Championships. The women entered the tournament as the #1 seed and have already played both of their pool play games. Well, in Game 1, on Monday, November the 27th, the women faced off against Columbia International University. Wildcats controlled the match for the full 90 minutes and scored early. In the 16th minute, Madison Abbott put one in the net off the assist by Amy Duran. The Wildcats had a total of 18 shots in the first half, and they kept them coming in the second. In the 57th minute, Lexi Garcia scored the second goal to give the Wildcats the 2-0 lead. Then Lexis contributed on an assist to Olivia Schmidt's goal in the 72nd minute. The Wildcats went on to win it 3-0, having taken 30 shots and putting 21 of those on goal. Well, the Wildcats then moved on to play Mid-America Christian out of Oklahoma in their final match of Pool A play. That was on Wednesday, November the 29th. Took until the 20th minute for the Wildcats to take the lead with a goal by Amy Duran, assisted by Madison Miller. But then in the second half, the floodgates opened and IW scored another 4 goals while allowing only 4 shots in Mid-America the entire game. They had goals from Olivia Schmidt in the 53rd minute, assisted by Tia Stanford. Tia then scored in the 58th minute, assisted by Alexis Garcia and Madison Miller. Amy Duran again in the 61st minute, assisted by Megan Welch and Olivia Schmidt. And then finally Shay Mulheron in the 73rd minute, assisted by Alexis Garcia. The Wildcats won 5-0, getting another shutout for the tournament and an 18th goal in the season for Tia Sanford. So now the women move on out of pool play and into the semifinals. Well, they'll take on Southwestern Assemblies of God, who made it out of Pool B play with 3 points. The match will be Friday, December the 1st at 4:30 in Kissimmee. You can watch a live stream of that game, and that is a pay-per-view. You can go to iwwildcats.com and click on the video icon for the women's soccer schedule of that match. Well, now moving on to men's soccer, the team is also in Kissimmee, Florida, playing the NCCAA Division I National Championships. They too have finished their pool play and made it out of the pool play into the semifinal match, taking that final semifinal spot. They advanced with only 3 points, but edged out 2 other teams in the tiebreaker. Their first match was against Mid-America Christian University, and it proved to be a battle to the end when the 85th minute Glauber Oliveira scored the lone goal with an assist by Nico Matern. Just minutes later, Mid-America was awarded a penalty kick, but Wildcat keeper Andrew Wick came up with a huge save, giving the Wildcats the shutout and the 1-0 victory over Southwestern. Well, now in the second match against the #4 seed, Bethesda, the Wildcats held their, Wildcats were held to only the 3rd shutout of the season. Thomas Costa Santana scored in the 22nd minute, and it proved to be enough for the win. The Wildcats were only able to get 2 shots on goal for the entire match. They lost that 1-0, but as fate would have it, as we mentioned, the Wildcats would be facing Bethesda University once again in a rematch. That game is a semifinal match. That match will be Friday, December 1st, 2 p.m. in Kissimmee. Well, once again, you have to go to iwwildcats.com and you can see how you can watch that live stream of that game there. Well, we're not done yet. We go to Sioux City, Iowa, the other side of the country, the NAIA Division II Volleyball National Championships. IW drew a tough pull with 2 of the 4 teams being in the top 10 in the nation, and those are the first 2 teams the Wildcat faced. The Wildcats were not ranked going into the tournament, having won their league championship. Well, on Tuesday, November 28th, IW played their first game against the #7 ranked Park University. It proved to be a tough battle the entire game, and it went into 5 sets. The Wildcats took an early 5-1 lead on a Lauren Gross kill in that 5th set. But Park bounced back to tie it up at 5-all and then took their first lead 10-9. They traded points back and forth. The Wildcats tied it at 12 off a Morgan Miller kill, but a couple of unforced errors and a block gave Park the 5th set victory, but a hard fought 5-set game for the Wildcats. You can watch or see scores for that match here. Park winning it in 5, as we said, 25-21, 15-25, 23-25, 25-21, and then, as we said, 12-15 in that final set. Well, Katie Cole had 36 assists and 16 digs. Tay Thomas, 19 kills. Banner Rogers, get a load of this, 28 digs, along with 4 aces. Their next match was Wednesday, November the 29th, when they played the number 10 ranked team out of the Corbin University, out of the state of Oregon. It was like watching a repeat of the Park match, the Wildcats winning the first set, dropping the next 2, and coming back to win in the 4th and forcing a 5th and final set. There, Corbin took the first point and then a 5-2 lead. They never looked back and took that 5th set. Well, Tay Thomas had a kill, and then Corbin had a double hit to get the Wildcats up to 8 points. They were trailing 8-13, but Corbin went on to win the final set 15-8. Corbin won the match, keeping the Wildcats from being able to keep it out of the pool, making it out of pool play. Scores in that match: 25-20, 22-25, 23-25, 25-19, and then 8-15 in that 5th and final set. Again, Katie Cole, the freshman, had 35 assists, 10 digs. Senior Morgan Miller had 16 kills, 2 solo blocks. Senior Banner Rogers, 33 digs and 2 assists. Well, even though the Wildcats have been eliminated, they still have one more match to go. That will be against Missouri Valley University, who will not be making out of pool play as well. But again, by the time you see this episode, that match will already been happening. We hope that the ladies were able to finish out the season on a high note. But in any case, it's been a tremendous season and tremendous run for them. Well, when we come back, women's basketball head coach Ethan Whaley will be in the studio to break down the start to the Crossroads League play. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. The Lady Wildcats are now 2 games into the Crossroads League play, and so far it's so good. After winning their first league game against Grace College, they face Goshen College on Wednesday, November the 29th. The Wildcats got off to a quick start. Right off the jump, a layup here from Nicole Ignashik. And during the first half, the Lady Wildcats knocked down 7 threes in the form of a variety of players. The team shot 47% from behind the arc in the first half. During the second half, Nicole Ignashik finds Carly Lang for an easy layup. Elena Edgewa working hard inside. She finished strong coming off the bench for the Wildcats. Wildcats continued pushing the basketball up the floor to score some easy layups in transition. The Lady Wildcats came out victorious with a final score of 83-56. Senior Anna Imhoff led the way with 23 points and 2 rebounds. Junior Nicole Ignashik had 10 points, 14 rebounds, another double-double for Nicole Ignashik. And sophomore Elena Edgewa ended the night with 9 points and 3 rebounds. Well, joining me now is the women's basketball head coach, Ethan Whaley. And Coach, we're going to take a look at some more in-depth highlights of this Goshen win here in a minute. Before you get to that, though, I wanted to talk to you about the Grace game, that opening game in conference play on the road. Great start in that game. People thought, well, Jim Brenner had called the game over at the end of the first quarter. It wasn't over, though, was it? They stormed back? But
not even close.
Here's the key, and Janae Gibson and I talked about last night in our broadcast. Close games, but in every one of them, you're finding ways to win.
Yeah. This a term we've been using with our team. We say resolve. This team seems to have a lot of resolve. You're always going to face problems, but you got to be able to fix them and move forward. And I'm really proud of the way that we've been able to do that. You talked about the Grace game. We scored 24 in the first quarter. We scored 8 in the second, 7 in the third. It wasn't looking good, but we regrouped going into the fourth, and we scored 29 points and pulled it out.
Well, in that game, of course, Anna Imhoff, she was huge. Kind of wondered what kind of transition we might see in Goshen, but she's carried over. I think 27 points against Grace. We mentioned 23 here against Goshen, and we're going to take a look at some of the Goshen highlights here. But what I like about Anna's game is if she misses a three, it's kind of forget about it, drive on, and she's going to hit the next one.
Yeah, we talk a lot about short memory and get rid of that rear view mirror. Her and Katie Keep both have really taken a step forward in terms of their confidence when they shoot the ball. Anna, early on, she missed her first 12 threes of the year. She didn't hit her first three till her third game. And since then, I think she's shooting just over 50% from three. So I'm really proud of the way that she's grown in that. Somebody else that doesn't get mentioned is Janae Goodwin last night, went 3 for 3.
I was just going to mention her. I mean, she was a huge factor in that first half. 3 for 3 from three-point range. And I don't think they were expecting that. And it definitely fueled one of your runs.
Yeah, we've been talking to our point guards a lot about we need them to make shots. Obviously, they need to continue to manufacture threes for Katie and Anna and our other shooters, but we need them to be a threat, because when they're a threat, you have to guard all 5 players, right? You know, going into Grace sagged off 2 of our players. It kind of threw a wrench at us, but last night, again, was a step in the right direction, another step of growth moving forward.
Well, you know, it was a 13-point game at the half. I credit Goshen. They played hard, they were scrappy, but then in the third quarter, I mean, you guys just blew it wide open. I think 32 points scored in that third quarter. Anna Imhoff hit some 3. We saw Brittany doing some things. Look at that. Long range 3 from Katie Key. That was one of the shots I was like, are you serious? And then all of a sudden, well, she hit it.
Heat check.
You know, Brittany steps out and hits a 3, but then you did some good things on transition as well. That third quarter was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, it started on the defensive end. We just kept saying we got to get stops and let that fuel our offense. And then once we did get stops, we didn't turn it over. We had 11 turnovers in the first half, and that really slowed our rhythm down. But once we cleaned that up, it was a lot of fun in that third quarter.
Last thing we saw there is what I liked, especially in the fourth quarter. We've mentioned Elena Edgewa's 9 points, but Michaela Bailey came in off the bench. Even though when Stephanie Conrad had the little baseline jumper, what I loved about your bench was I thought they weren't turning the ball over. It wasn't me first. They were still running the offense, getting good shots, and just, you know, playing Wildcat basketball like you're supposed to.
Yeah, you know, you got to give them a lot of credit, because one of the hardest things to do is stay engaged on the bench if you haven't played for the first 32 minutes of the game. And so I was really proud of them. They fuel a lot of our runs just with their energy. We call it juice.
Yeah.
They bring the juice on the bench, and then when they came in, obviously they were mentally focused, and I felt like they upped the energy and upped the level of intensity, even from when our top 8 or top 9 were in the game.
Well, Elena, we mentioned her 9 points. She fouled out of this game, but I think that's okay in a sense, because playing aggressive and trying to make something happen. And we had the benefit of replay, and I thought a couple of those fouls were actually kind of a little bit iffy, but again, she was just being aggressive.
Yeah, well, Elena's MO is to always err on the side of being aggressive, and I love that about her. Actually, this week in practice, she bit through her lip. She got a scrape across her forehead, and now she has a goose egg on her forehead after last night. So she's nobody has ever called her soft, and I think she kind of hangs her hat on that.
Well, it doesn't get any easier, because you go on the road this weekend to Huntington. Of course, we know Huntington over the years, well-coached team, very competitive team, not an easy place to play, but it's a really big early season conference game, isn't it?
Yeah. Huntington is 8-1. They're a very, very good team, very dynamic. They can score in a lot of different ways. And if you recall, last year at this time, we had a 4 overtime game at our place.
Yeah.
So you're always in for a great game when you go there, when they come here. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming in. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you.
All right. Well, up next for the Lady Wildcats, as we mentioned, another conference matchup. Again, it's at Huntington University. The Wildcats will travel up to Huntington on Saturday, December the 2nd, and face the Forcers. Game time is at 1 p.m. Well, when we come back, men's basketball head coach Greg Tonagel joins us to talk about their start to the Crossroads League. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. Well, after Thanksgiving break, the men's basketball team continued their Crossroads League play against Goshen College. The Wildcats were coming off a 21-point victory over Grace the week before. The game on Tuesday, November 28th, had the Lancers keeping it close in the first half. A 3 by Kyle Mangus with under a minute left started a stretch for the Wildcats where they took the lead. They went up into the halftime, up 46-41. Then in the second half, the Lancers managed to take the lead with a shot by Billy Getschke to make it 60-59, but the Wildcats had a 13-1 run that was part of them scoring 24 points in 4 minutes to put the game away. The Wildcats went on to win by a final score 102-83. They are now 2-0 in the Crossroads League, 8-1 overall, sitting at number 4 in the NAIA Division II national rankings. Leading the way for the Wildcats, Jacob Johnson was the high scorer with 27 points. He also had 2 blocks. Evan Maxwell, 17 points, 5 rebounds. Kyle Mangus scored 16 points, pulled down 6 rebounds. The Wildcats had 5 players in double figures, actually 5 players with 14 or more points. Well, now joining me in the studio is the head coach of the Wildcats, Coach Greg Tonagel. And Coach, it always feels good this time of the year, be a 2-0 in the conference. I guess the old cliche is you can't win conference in November, December, but you sure can maybe lose it in a sense, or you can certainly put yourself behind the 8 ball. But to be 2-0, it's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I feel like we're growing as a team right now. We're playing stretches of good basketball, and we're being challenged. I mean, both league games, I think we've been pushed and we've been exposed in some areas, which in some senses is good because it allows us to then get our guys' attention and say, okay, now this week the focus is this, and our guys are locked in and they're growing.
You know, and again, I think people have taken a look at this team, all the new talent, all the new faces, but, you know, that's a lot of people to try to kind of get the chemistry flowing. And that doesn't come overnight, does it? I mean, it takes some time and it takes some commitment, and, you know, you got to just play some games.
You want to give you a good analogy, Raj?
Absolutely.
It's kind of like my famous chili.
Oh,
you can't rush it. You can't rush it.
Yeah.
You got to let it sit. You got to let it simmer. And the end product is really good, but you got to wait for it. And I think I've said that with this team all along. We're going to be better in January and February than we are now. It's going to take time. What we need is experience, because the Evan Maxwells, Grant Smith, Kyle Mangus, Pribble, Sam McCray, these are all new faces that, although they have high expectations, they don't exactly know what we're asking of them. So stuff like this takes time.
You know, one of the things is we take a look at the highlights in depth here from Goshen, and Goshen came out on fire. They were really scrappy, really pumped up, but and they shot the lights out in that first half. They really got some good shots. But I liked what I saw from Joel Okafor. Excuse me. We know he can play defense, but he can score too when he needs to.
He can, and he can shoot it, and he's been reluctant to at times. And we finally said, Joel, stop thinking and just go play. And I thought offensively he just played, and he really did make some nice shots. And the thing you give Joel every night is you get defense. Well, yesterday, man, he added some offense.
You know, the other thing you don't talk about much, but if I'm not right, I think Ben Carlson led your team in assists. And they have your big guy, one of your post players, you know, kind of accepting that role, dishing the basketball. That makes you that much more difficult to defend.
Ben's a great facilitator.
Yeah.
He thinks the game. A lot of times he's putting guys in position to be successful, and he's a coach on the floor. And man, what a testament to Ben and becoming a senior, maturing into this role.
You know, this was a point in that first half. Again, Getschke, he had a nice game. They went up 4. They never got a big lead on you, but I think, you know, Evans showing there his range, working the ball inside, you know, inside-out game. If there's ever one criticism of this team one time, or sometimes I think they're almost too unselfish. They'll maybe pass the ball a little bit too much, but I think they're trying to find the open guys. They're trying to get the hot hand.
I agree. Sometimes we get too cute. I told the guys at halftime, just make the simple play. And that's what we did. I mean, simple kick ahead, shot. Simple dump down, shot. We're not over-forcing and over-passing.
Well, then the last couple minutes of the first half, Jacob Johnson hit the big 3. Kyle Mangus hit that big 3. You take the lead into the locker room at the half, and then in the second half, you start to pull away.
I think what we've seen with our team is we're a better second half team because I think we wear teams down. As long as we stay with it over time, our length and I think our athleticism is giving us some dividends.
Yeah. You know, I thought Goshen played very hard in this game.
They did.
I thought maybe, in fact, for just a moment, for about 4 seconds, they took the lead, I think, in this game, but around the 12-minute mark. Then you guys took the lead right back and again, good inside-out game, but this was a point I thought, okay, like you just said, your size, your strength, your depth really took the game over.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give Goshen credit. They fought. They've got a lot of offensive weapons,
Yeah.
and they can beat you in a variety of ways. And they really pushed us. But then eventually, we finally strung together some stops, which led to some transition buckets, and it opened this thing up.
Boy, and then Jacob Johnson. Here's a nice move by Grant Smith, but Jacob in that second half, the last 12 minutes, not at 100%. Was dynamite. Oh, Sam McCracken.
Come on,
showing
Sam.
You can do it along the baseline there.
Sam continues to get better, and
Yeah.
his time's going to come. And we've got high expectations for Sam as he continues to improve.
Well, and it was nice. We talked to Coach Whaley about the bench play in the women's game. I liked what your bench gave you when they came into the game. It's not selfish play. It's trying to get within the flow of the offense, getting other guys involved, and looking like you belong out on the floor.
Yeah, I think when our bench steps in, we take a step up, and we're pretty versatile. We can bring shooters off the bench. We can bring slashers or defenders. Bring a little bit of everything.
One last guy I wanted to ask you about, unsung hero, I thought maybe in the second half, Kanan Coffey, I thought was really good defensively. He didn't score a lot of points.
No, Kanan's best game, and it wasn't by making threes, which you got to be able to contribute when you're not making shots, and he did that defensively for us.
Well, if you play good defense, you get some momentum going, you keep taking good shots, he's going to start hitting them.
Exactly. It's going to come. We know it's going to come.
Well, you go to Huntington on Saturday. As we said, every year, Huntington's not the easiest place to play. They're going to be fired up to take on the Wildcats. I mean, their record isn't what they would like, but Coach Platt, he's going to have that team fired up.
Listen, in our league, every night you're going to be pushed. It doesn't matter who you're playing. We don't even look at records, and we're going to have to bring it. We're going to have to continue to improve.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Coach. Now, as we said, up next for the men's basketball team is that game at Huntington to take on the Foresters. Game time, Saturday, December the 2nd, 3 p.m. That game will follow the women's game that starts at 1 o'clock. Well, that's all we have for you on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to watch more of Wildcat Week, you can visit our website, wiwtv.com. There you can watch past episodes and connect with us online. Again, that's wiwtv.com. And you can stay connected with all our local programming by subscribing to our YouTube channel, WIWTV51. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. So for all of us here, thanks for watching Wildcat Week.